The storm over Manhattan wasn't the kind that merely passed. It felt like a warning. And on that night, as lightning carved the sky, two identical brothers stood on opposite sides of a legacy that was never meant to be divided. But only one of them had walked away with everything. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Ethan and Gabriel Hale had always been indistinguishable at first glance. Same sharp jawline, same light beard, same calm brown eyes. But beneath the surface, differences had been growing for years. Ethan, polished and calculating, ran their father's real estate empire from a glass tower in Midtown. Gabriel, equally brilliant but more idealistic, believed the company should serve communities, not just profit margins. When their father died unexpectedly in Denver, the brothers were left in shock. The will, written years earlier and untouched since, was supposed to split the Hale fortune evenly. Except on the day of the reading, it didn't. Ethan arrived early, wearing a tailored navy suit and the confidence of someone who already knew the outcome. Gabriel arrived late, still wearing the same grey coat he'd worn at the hospital, grief still fresh on his face. The attorney cleared his throat, opened the envelope, and read the words that shattered everything. The entirety of the Hale estate and its assets shall pass to Ethan Charles Hale. Gabriel felt the world tilt. Ethan didn't blink. Everyone in the room whispered. The twins exchanged a look, one stunned, one unreadable. Dad would never... Gabriel whispered. Ethan simply said, "The will is clear." But something was wrong, deeply wrong. Their father had never favored one son over the other, and as Gabriel left the office into the cold Denver air, a single thought formed. Someone changed that will. And if Ethan was behind it, then Gabriel wasn't just cut out of the fortune. He had been betrayed, and betrayal demands an answer. Denver faded behind Gabriel like a bad dream as he flew back to New York, but the anger followed him like a shadow he couldn't outrun. The city lights below glittered with the same wealth that had built the Hale empire, an empire he had helped shape just as much as Ethan. Yet now, legally, it all belonged to only one brother. Before Gabriel even landed at JFK, he was already replaying every detail of the will reading. The sealed envelope, Ethan's unreadable expression, the slight smirk Gabriel thought he saw, or maybe imagined, when the attorney announced the verdict. He needed answers, and answers always start with motives. In the Hale Tower penthouse, Ethan celebrated privately. He poured a glass of 12-year bourbon and stood before the panoramic view of Midtown, the city reflecting off the windows like a crown newly claimed. His assistant, Liana Marks, watched him carefully. Too carefully, as if she knew a secret she wasn't sure she should be holding. "You don't seem surprised," she finally said. Ethan lifted a brow. "Should I be?" "Your father rewrote his will 6 months ago," Liana said quietly, "right after you two had that disagreement." Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's irrelevant. My father made his decision." But his tone betrayed something, fear or guilt, maybe both. Across the city, Gabriel was already knocking on doors. He met with Martin Cole, their father's former CPA, who hesitated the moment he saw Gabriel at his office. "Martin," Gabriel said, "I need to know if my father updated his will recently." Martin swallowed hard. "Gabriel, I can't get involved." "Someone forged it," Gabriel said, "or pressured him, and I think Ethan knows more than he's saying." Martin's silence was confirmation enough, but before Gabriel could press further, his phone buzzed, a text, unknown number. "Stop digging. You won't like what you find." Gabriel froze. He looked around the dimly lit hallway of the office building, empty, silent. But he suddenly felt watched. He texted back, "Who is this?" No answer. He slipped the phone into his pocket and exhaled slowly. The threat didn't scare him. It fueled him, because whoever was warning him was connected to the truth, and he was just getting started. Gabriel didn't sleep that night. He paced his small apartment in Brooklyn, a place he had chosen years ago to stay grounded, far from the penthouses and private elevators Ethan lived among. The anonymous text kept replaying in his mind. Someone knew what he was doing. Someone wanted him quiet, and threats only ever come from two sources, the guilty or the terrified. By sunrise, Gabriel was already moving. His first stop was the hospice where his father had spent his final weeks. The halls smelled of disinfectant and fading hope, but the nurses remembered him with warmth. One of them, a middle-aged woman named Kara Benson, pulled him aside. "You boys were here every day," she said. "But your brother, he had meetings with your father privately, more than once." Gabriel felt his pulse spike. Meetings? About what? Kara hesitated, glancing around before lowering her voice. "Your father was worried. I overheard him say something about being pushed into decisions he wasn't ready to make. He told me once he wished he had more time to fix things." "Fix what?" Gabriel pressed, but Kara only shook her head. "He didn't say." It wasn't enough, but it was something, a thread. Across Manhattan, Ethan was starting to feel the cracks too. His morning briefing was interrupted when security informed him that a forensic document examiner had requested access to the Hale archives, allegedly sent by the family. Ethan shut that down immediately. "No one is to access anything without my approval," he said sharply. Liana watched him, concern etched across her face. "Ethan, did you know your father was planning to amend the succession plan again?" Ethan stiffened. "Where did you hear that?" "From his legal advisor," she replied. "He said your father had doubts, and that he had scheduled a meeting with both you and Gabriel the week before he died." The words hit Ethan like a punch. He looked away, jaw tightening, and in that moment Liana realized something. Ethan wasn't as certain, or as innocent, as he pretended. Meanwhile, Gabriel headed to the one person who might hold the missing pieces, Attorney Miles Hartford, the man who had read the will. Hartford's office overlooked the East River, tidy and clinical, the kind of place where secrets stayed locked behind polished wood and glass. "Miles," Gabriel said, sitting down across from him, "I need the original copy of the will." "That document is sealed," Hartford replied. "Legally, it belongs to Ethan now." Gabriel leaned forward, voice low. "So someone altered it, and you know it." Miles's eyes flickered, the first crack. "Gabriel, let this go." "Tell me the truth," Gabriel demanded. But before Miles could answer, his office door opened abruptly, and Ethan stepped inside. For a moment, the twins simply stared at each other, two identical faces shaped by the same blood, now divided by something far colder. Ethan broke the silence first. "You're digging in places that don't concern you." Gabriel stood. "It concerns me when someone steals my life." The air between them felt like the moment before a match hits gasoline. Miles stood quickly. "Gentlemen, please." But Ethan's voice cut through the room. "Walk away, Gabriel, before you destroy more than you understand." And Gabriel knew, with absolute clarity, that Ethan was afraid, which meant Gabriel was close. But what came next changed everything. Gabriel walked out of Miles Hartford's office, with his heart pounding like a war drum. Ethan's sudden appearance wasn't a coincidence. It was a warning. But warnings didn't stop Gabriel anymore. They only confirmed what he already felt in his bones. He was right, and Ethan was hiding something big. Across the city, the cold wind cut through the canyons of skyscrapers as Gabriel hurried toward the subway. But halfway down the steps, he stopped abruptly. Someone was watching him. He felt it, a presence lingering just long enough to make his skin crawl. He turned, A man in a black jacket stood across the street, pretending to scroll on his phone. But his eyes were locked on Gabriel. When Gabriel stepped toward him, the man vanished into the crowd. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was surveillance. Meanwhile, inside the Hale Tower, Ethan slammed the door of his office so hard the glass rattled. He paced back and forth, running a hand through his hair. "He's getting too close," he muttered. Liana approached carefully. "Ethan, what are you not telling me?" Ethan stopped. For the first time since the will reading, he didn't look composed. He looked cornered. "My father didn't want me to have the company," he whispered. "He planned to give control to Gabriel. He said I was too aggressive, too focused on expansion. He thought I'd ruin his legacy." Liana blinked. "But that's not what the will said." Ethan looked away. "Because he changed it back, 2 weeks before he died." The words hung in the air like a blade. Liana's voice dropped. "Ethan, did you convince him to—" "No," Ethan snapped, but then his voice softened. "I didn't have to. Someone else wanted me in charge more than I did." "Who?" she asked. But Ethan didn't answer, because across the river, Gabriel had just found that answer himself. He met again with Martin Cole, the CPA, this time at a quiet diner in Queens, where no one would recognize them. Martin looked exhausted, as if carrying a secret so heavy it had bent his spine. "I didn't want to tell you," Martin said, stirring his coffee with shaking hands, "but there was someone else involved in the estate changes. Someone your father trusted?" "Who?" Gabriel asked. Martin swallowed hard. "Miles Hartford." Gabriel froze. The attorney, the man who read the will, the man Ethan had stormed in to protect. "Miles told your father the company would collapse under your management," Martin continued. "He said Ethan had the experience to keep it afloat. He pressured your father for months." "But why?" Gabriel asked. Martin's expression darkened. "Because Miles works for investors who want a more aggressive expansion, and Ethan is exactly the kind of leader they can control." Gabriel felt the truth settle like ice in his veins. Ethan hadn't stolen the fortune, but he had allowed it to be stolen. He stood abruptly from the booth, chest tight with betrayal. "I need to talk to him, now." "Gabriel," Martin warned, "be careful. These people, they don't play fair." Gabriel didn't look back as he left the diner. His fury carried him out into the cold afternoon wind. He had spent days believing Ethan had taken everything from him, but the real enemy had been sitting beside them the entire time, and Ethan had no idea the worst was yet to come. Night fell over Manhattan like a heavy curtain as Gabriel approached the Hale Tower. The building glowed with sterile white light, a monument to power, his family's power, now twisted by greed and manipulation. Gabriel stepped into the marble lobby, ignoring the security guards who pretended not to watch him too closely. His reflection in the polished floor looked like Ethan's, but the fire in his eyes was all his own. He took the private elevator straight to the top. On the 57th floor, Ethan stood by the window, shoulders tense, staring down at the city as if it might swallow him whole. When the doors opened, he didn't turn. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan said quietly. Gabriel stepped forward. "You didn't take the fortune from me," he said, "but you let them take it. You let them manipulate Dad, and now they're using you too." Ethan finally turned around, same face, same eyes, but a lifetime of choices separating them. "What did Cole tell you?" Ethan asked. "The truth," Gabriel replied. "Miles Hartford is working with outside investors, and they want you running the company because they can control you. They pushed Dad, Ethan. They pressured him to choose you, not because you're better, because you're useful." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't deny it. Gabriel continued, voice rising. "Dad knew. He tried to reverse the changes, and someone made sure he didn't get the chance." For the first time, Ethan's expression cracked. "Fear. Real fear. You're saying, "I'm saying this goes deeper than either of us," Gabriel said. "And if we don't act together, the company Dad built will be torn apart." Ethan turned away, hands shaking at his sides. "I didn't know they were manipulating him," he said. I thought he finally realized I was ready." Gabriel softened, but only slightly. "We both know Dad never chose between us. Why would he start now?" Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to. Just then, the office lights flickered, a power surge, then another. Ethan frowned. "That's strange." They stepped toward the security monitors. Every camera feed on the floor had gone black. Then the elevator dinged. Ethan and Gabriel tensed, but when the doors opened, it wasn't a stranger. It was Miles Hartford. His expression was cold, calculated, and flanked by two men neither twin recognized. "Gabriel," Miles said calmly, "you've caused quite a problem." Ethan stepped forward. "Miles, what are you doing?" "What I've always done," Miles replied, "protecting the interests of the people who actually own this empire." Gabriel stared, stunned. "You forged the will." Miles didn't even blink. The board needed Ethan in control. "Gabriel, you were always too unpredictable." The two men behind Miles moved closer. "This doesn't have to get messy," Miles said. "We just need Gabriel to stop asking questions." Ethan's voice broke the silence. "No!" Miles turned to him. "Ethan!" "No!" Ethan repeated, his voice steady. "You don't touch him." The brothers stood side by side, identical, united for the first time since the funeral. Miles exhaled slowly. "I was hoping you wouldn't make this difficult." He raised a hand, and the men stepped forward. Everyone thought it was over. It wasn't. The two men advanced with the cold efficiency of professionals. Gabriel instinctively stepped in front of Ethan, but Ethan moved beside him, shoulders squared. For once, the twins stood not as rivals, but as brothers. When the first man lunged, Gabriel reacted faster. He grabbed a glass award from Ethan's desk and swung, shattering it against the man's forearm. The attacker stumbled back, giving Ethan just enough time to shove the second man into the conference table. Miles Hartford watched, jaw tight, as the twins fought with the precision of men who'd survived the same childhood, the same lessons, the same instincts. But they were outnumbered, and both knew it. The first man recovered quickly and pinned Gabriel against the wall. Ethan grabbed the man's jacket, yanking him back, but the second man wrapped an arm around Ethan's throat. For a moment, everything blurred. Fists, shouts, glass breaking. The city lights beyond the windows flickered like distant stars. Then Gabriel saw it, Ethan's face turning red, his breath choking off. "Ethan!" Gabriel shouted. A surge of adrenaline hit him like lightning. He drove his knee into the attacker's ribs, then slammed his elbow into the man's jaw. Ethan gasped for air as he stumbled free. Miles stepped back toward the elevator, panicked now. "Enough! Take them both down!" But before his men could move again, the floor lights blazed back on, and a shrill alarm echoed through the hallway. "Security breach alert." Miles froze. "No! No, that can't—" Gabriel wiped blood from his lip. "What did you expect? You shut down the cameras. Someone noticed." Footsteps thundered from the stairwell. Building security flooded onto the floor, guns raised, ordering everyone to freeze. Miles's men dropped their weapons immediately. Miles, however, tried to slip into the elevator, but Ethan blocked him, placing a hand on the door. "You're not going anywhere," Ethan said. Gabriel stepped beside him. "Dad trusted you, and you sold him out." Miles's face twisted. "You boys never understood power." Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, you never understood loyalty." Security handcuffed Miles and his men within seconds. The danger was over. But the truth, the full, painful truth, was still waiting. Back in Ethan's office, the twins stood in silence, breathing hard, the adrenaline slowly draining from their bodies. The city below glowed with its usual uncaring brilliance. Ethan finally spoke. "Gabriel, I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I thought they were helping Dad. I didn't know they were using me." Gabriel looked at him, truly looked at him, and saw not the rival he'd resented, but the brother he'd lost somewhere along the way. "You should have trusted me," Gabriel said. "We could have faced this together from the beginning." Ethan nodded, eyes glistening. "Then let's face what comes next together." The words felt like the first piece of healing, but the revelation waiting for them downstairs would change everything again. Downstairs, the lobby of Hale Tower buzzed with chaos. Officers taking statements, security reviewing footage, Miles Hartford shouting about legal representation. But none of that mattered, not compared to what the head of security, Jordan Reeves, held in his hands. A folder, worn, heavy, edges bent from being handled too many times. "Mr. Hale," Jordan said, addressing Ethan. "This was recovered from Hartford's briefcase. You both need to see it." He handed the folder to Ethan, who opened it slowly. Gabriel leaned over his shoulder. Inside were documents, dozens, all marked confidential. Bank transfers, emails, notes scribbled in their father's handwriting. A timeline of meetings, legal drafts, and something else, a sealed envelope, addressed in their father's unmistakable handwriting, "To my sons, Ethan and Gabriel. If something happens to me, read this together." Ethan's breath caught. "He wrote this for us." Gabriel swallowed hard. "Open it." Ethan's hands shook as he broke the seal. Their father's letter was only one page, but every sentence felt like a weight being lifted, and another being placed on their shoulders. "My sons, if you are reading this, then I have failed, either in health or in judgment. I want you to know that I love you both equally. My greatest fear was always that others would try to turn you against each other. Gabrielle, you have your mother's heart. Ethan, her determination. Together, you are everything this company needs. Apart, you'll destroy each other, and everything I built. I changed my will recently. I intended to give you both equal control. If you find that this is not the case, then someone has interfered. Trust each other. Do not trust Hartford. Protect the company. Protect each other. And forgive me, Dad." Ethan lowered the letter, eyes glassy. "He knew," he whispered. "He knew someone would try to twist us." Gabriel felt his throat tighten. "He trusted us to fix it." Jordan stepped forward again. "There's more. One of our IT analysts restored deleted files from Hartford's tablet." He handed Gabriel another document, an unsigned will draft, splitting everything perfectly evenly between the twins. Dated 2 days before their father's death, Ethan sat down heavily on a lobby bench, running both hands through his hair. This changes everything legally. Hartford's going away for a long time." Gabriel nodded. "And the company belongs to both of us," Ethan finished, "the way Dad wanted." For the first time since the funeral, Gabriel felt something close to hope, but the moment didn't last. Because as officers escorted Miles Hartford through the front doors, he twisted back to glare at the brothers. "You think this is over?" Miles hissed. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. I was just the first step." Gabriel narrowed his eyes. "What does that mean?" Miles smirked, cold and knowing. "Your father wasn't the only one they wanted control over." Before Gabriel could demand answers, Miles was pushed into the back of a police car. Ethan stood, jaw set. "Who else was involved?" Gabriel exhaled slowly, staring into the freezing Manhattan night. "Whoever they are," he said, "they're still out there." The story wasn't finished, just reshaped. The Manhattan night outside Hale Tower was sharp, cold, and unforgiving, the kind that revealed truths better left in the dark. Ethan and Gabriel stepped onto the sidewalk as the police car carrying Miles Hartford disappeared into traffic. Sirens echoed off the glass towers, fading until there was nothing but the whisper of winter wind, but the warning Miles had left behind still rang louder than the sirens. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Ethan crossed his arms, staring down the street as if he could chase the answer with his eyes alone. "Hartford wasn't smart enough to orchestrate this by himself," he said. "If he was just the first step, then someone higher up pushed him." Gabriel nodded slowly. "And they're still expecting Ethan to run the company, to follow their agenda." Ethan looked at him. "Then we don't give them what they want." For the first time in weeks, maybe months, the twins walked side by side, not rivals, not competitors, but two halves of something stronger. They headed back into the tower, up to the 57th floor, where the shattered glass and overturned chairs from the fight still littered the carpet. Their father's letter lay on the desk between them, illuminated under the office lights like a beacon. Gabriel picked it up gently. He knew this might happen. He tried to warn us. Ethan leaned against the desk, exhaling. "We let other people turn us into enemies." "Not anymore," Gabriel said. They spent the next hour going through every document recovered from Hartford, financial links to offshore accounts, communications with board members, confidential reports prepared for unknown investors, layer after layer of corruption, concealment, and influence. "We were blind," Ethan murmured. "Hartford didn't just forge the will. He was positioning the company for a takeover." Gabriel looked toward the window. The city reflected faintly in the glass. "Dad didn't just want us to protect each other. He wanted us to protect this." He gestured to the skyline, the empire their father had built with his bare hands. Ethan nodded. "Then we start tomorrow, together." As they prepared to leave, Ethan stopped suddenly. "Gabriel." "Yeah." Ethan extended his hand, something he hadn't done since they were kids. "Thank you. You didn't give up on the truth." Gabriel stared at the hand for a moment, then shook it firmly. "Thank you for choosing the right side." But as they walked toward the elevator, a soft ding made them both pause. The elevator doors slid open. Inside, a single envelope lay on the floor. No sender, no markings, just one line written in block letters. "This isn't over." Gabriel felt the hairs on his arms rise. "They're still watching." Ethan picked up the envelope, staring at it as if it were a snake ready to strike. "Then so are we." He tucked it into his coat. The doors closed, and for the first time since the nightmare started, the brothers understood that their father's death had been only the beginning, and whatever force had tried to tear their family apart was not finished. But this time, the twins were united, ready, focused, unbreakable. They stepped out into the night as partners, not enemies, and somewhere in the shadows of Manhattan, someone watched them leave. Their story, their real story, was just beginning. If you're enjoying these stories, subscribe to the channel and follow the next videos, and tell us in the comments what this story meant to you.